The I-70 killer, the unsolved highway murders. The I-70 killer is the name given to an unidentified serial killer responsible for a string of murders along Interstate 70 in the Midwest during the spring of 1992. The killer targeted small businesses located near the highway, shooting 6 people to death in cold blood. Despite multiple investigations and potential leads, the I-70 killer has never been caught, and the case remains one of the most notorious unsolved serial murder cases in the United States. The killing spree began on April 8, 1992, when Robin Fuldauer, a 26-year-old employee at a Payless shoe source in Indianapolis, Indiana, was found shot to death. The killer had entered the store, shot her execution style with a .22 caliber gun, and left without taking any money or valuables. Just over a week later, on April 11, 1992, 2 more murders occurred. Patricia Smith and Patricia Margers, employees of a bridal shop in Wichita, Kansas, were shot and killed in the same manner as Fuldauer. Their bodies were discovered by customers who arrived for an appointment. Again, no money was taken, and the motive appeared to be purely murder. The pattern continued on April 27, 1992, when Michael McCown, a 40-year-old man, was shot and killed in his ceramic store in Terre Haute, Indiana. Investigators initially believed that McCown was an outlier because he was the only male victim, but it was later theorized that the killer might have mistaken him for a woman, as McCown had long hair. The 5th and 6th victims, Nancy Kitzmiller and Sarah Blessing, were killed in similar fashion in Missouri. Kitzmiller was murdered on May 3, 1992, at a shoe store in St. Charles, Missouri, and Blessing was killed on May 7, 1992, at a gift shop in Raytown, Missouri. Both were shot with the same caliber weapon, and once again, no money or goods were stolen. The killer's spree spanned 3 states, Indiana, Kansas, and Missouri, and left a trail of fear across the Midwest. Despite the seemingly random selection of victims, investigators soon realized that the murders were linked by several key factors. The killer's profile. The I-70 killer is believed to be a white male, likely in his mid-20s to early 40s at the time of the murders. Witnesses described him as having sandy or light brown hair, with a slender build, standing between 5 feet 7 inches and 5 feet 9 inches. He was typically seen wearing a jacket, and carrying a gun in a small bag. Despite multiple sightings, his face was never clearly identified by anyone. The killer's weapon of choice was a .22 caliber firearm, likely a semi-automatic pistol, and he always shot his victims in the head, execution style. The precision and methodical nature of the killings suggested that the I-70 killer was a cold and calculating individual. The fact that nothing was stolen from the crime scenes further fueled the theory that the murders were not motivated by robbery, but by the killer's desire to kill. Investigators believe that the killer targeted small businesses located near I-70, likely because they were easy to enter and offered isolated settings where he could commit his crimes without interruption. Most of the businesses were either bridal shops, shoe stores, or small specialty shops, leading authorities to speculate that the killer may have specifically chosen locations where women worked alone. Investigation and theories. The I-70 killer's reign of terror sparked a massive manhunt across 3 states, but despite the best efforts of law enforcement agencies, the killer was never identified. Over the years, several theories and potential suspects have emerged, but none have been definitively tied to the murders. One theory is that the killer was a drifter or transient, using I-70 as a route to travel across states and commit his crimes. This would explain the geographic spread of the murders and the lack of any clear personal connection between the victims and the killer. Another theory is that the killer may have had a specific hatred or fixation on women who worked alone in retail, particularly those in small stores. Despite the chilling similarities between the murders, investigators have struggled to find any solid leads. The killer left behind little forensic evidence, and witness descriptions of him varied slightly from scene to scene, making it difficult to develop a consistent profile. In 2018, law enforcement announced that they would be reviewing the case using advances in DNA technology, hoping to find new clues that could break the case open. However, as of now, no major breakthroughs have been reported. Possible suspects. Over the years, several suspects have been investigated in connection with the I-70 murders, but none have been charged. One possible suspect was a man named Herb Baumeister, a suspected serial killer from Indiana who was known to have killed multiple people in the 1990s. However, Baumeister's victims were all men, and there was no concrete evidence linking him to the I-70 murders. Another potential suspect was Bruce Lindahl, who was linked to several murders in Illinois during the 1970s and 1980s. Lindahl was known to have a violent past, and his physical description matched the witness accounts of the I-70 killer. However, Lindahl died in 1981, before the I-70 murders took place, so he was ruled out as a suspect. Without a clear suspect, the I-70 killer remains one of the most elusive serial killers in modern history. The fear along I-70. The murders caused widespread fear and panic along Interstate 70, particularly in the small towns and cities where the killings occurred. Business owners in the area, especially those who worked in small retail shops, became increasingly wary of strangers and took extra precautions to protect themselves. Women, in particular, felt vulnerable, as the killer appeared to specifically target female employees working alone. The I-70 killer's crime spree abruptly stopped in May 1992, leaving many to wonder why the killings ended so suddenly. Some investigators believe that the killer may have been incarcerated for another crime, moved to a different area, or even died. Others fear that he may still be out there, lying in wait, ready to strike again. The killer still at large. Despite years of investigation and renewed interest in the case, the I-70 killer remains at large, and the murders remain unsolved. For the families of the victims, the lack of closure is a painful reminder that justice has yet to be served. The randomness of the killings, combined with the killer's ability to evade capture for so long, has made the case one of the most perplexing unsolved serial murder investigations in American history. The I-70 killer may have disappeared from the headlines, but the fear he left behind continues to haunt the communities along the highway. With advancements in forensic science, there is hope that one day the case will be solved and the killer will finally be brought to justice.